Honestly, to all the people who start every public event now with one of those land acknowledgements where they say, "I'm standing on land that was stolen from the proud indigenous people of the Chumash tribe," I say either give it back or shut the fuck up. AOC says so many people in this country hate women. Oh, geez. Even the guy at the party who pulls out a guitar is like, way to ruin the fun.
What exactly did they say that set Mars on fire, and how cruel was his response? I've got every blazing receipt right here, so buckle up because things are about to get fiery. Bill Maher just dragged a group of woke elites straight to the cleaners without even bothering to fold the laundry. These are the same people who claim to love America, but their every action screams contempt for it.
And that is what's so odd about this time that we're living in. For all the talk about fighting for the soul of America, nobody seems to like it very much. Too many liberals give the impression that to them, America is just a big, ugh. The red, white, and ew. A country that started out bad and will always be bad, founded on an unrelenting history of
His first salvo was directed directly at the woke liberal leaders who despise America to the point where you'd think they believe we're the worst nation on earth. What really infuriated him was how their poisonous rhetoric is poisoning the well for the next generation instead of motivating young people to fix what's broken. These so-called progressives are feeding them resentment, hopelessness, and contempt for their own country. When children grow up believing that their country is irredeemable, what incentives do they have to preserve it, make improvements, or even care about it? Maher is annoyed by this trend, which is why he vented. What he says next will leave you speechless.
Have changed a lot. Democrat Cori Bush tweeted, "This land is stolen land and black people still aren't free." And this was on the 4th of July. Really? Not that I give a shit about the 4th of July. I've never been a rah-rah guy. But I am a perspective guy. And that's what too much of the left has lost, perspective. 72% of black people under 30 are optimistic about their future in America. Way more than white people the same age. And as far as the land goes, yes, I guess we could change the name of Captain America to Captain Stolen Land.
Maher first targets Cori Bush and doesn't back down from her. Bush and a large portion of the progressive left have lost all sense of perspective as they become enmeshed in identity politics and dangerously self-deprecating. Maher contends that their worldview is now based on feelings and ideological fantasies rather than facts. They reject uncomfortable truths and substitute them with stories that only serve to fuel animosity and division. Even worse, their high status frequently amounts to little more than symbolic noise and empty gestures with no real substance or solutions at the expense of a misinformed generation, a nation that is divided, and a political movement that is too preoccupied with its own echo chamber to recognize the harm it is causing.
But honestly, to all the people who start every public event now with one of those land acknowledgements where they say, "I'm standing on land that was stolen from the proud indigenous people of the Chumash tribe," I say either give it back or shut the fuck up.
Maher lays out a second truth bomb that is practically designed to send the woke mob into a tailspin. He says that if you truly think that the land you condemn was stolen, then stop virtue signaling and return it. You can't call your ancestors criminals while enjoying the benefits of what they built and refusing to make any genuine sacrifices yourself. This performative guilt does nothing to help the people it purports to defend. Instead, it just feeds outrage theater. The challenge from Maher is straightforward but devastating. If you truly believe what you're saying, act on it. If not, acknowledge that it's just another trendy chant in a never-ending cycle of selective moral
AOC says so many people in this country hate women. Oh, geez. Even the guy at the party who pulls out a guitar is like, way to ruin the fun.
Rage. There are times when you have to question whether AOC is even aware of what's going on outside of her activist bubble. Sure, America isn't perfect, But let's face it, women here have the freedom to vote, run their own businesses, speak freely, and wear whatever they want without fear of arrest. When you compare that to parts of the Middle East, where women are forced to cover every inch of their bodies, aren't allowed to leave the house without permission, and are jailed for taking off their hijabs, it's not only misleading but dangerous. Maher contends that this type of rhetoric distorts young people's perceptions, making them think they live in a dystopia rather than appreciating the privilege and progress they already enjoy.
Congressman Jamal Bowman says capitalism is slavery by another name. No, it's not. It's the thing that has given more people more prosperity and hope than any other system, flawed though it surely is. But
for instance, Bowman and Bernie conveniently overlook the fact that George Soros, Michael Bloomberg, and Reid Hoffman are large Democratic donors with substantial wealth and even more clout. They not only provide financial support, but also influence public opinion and policy, and fund campaigns. If you truly want to overthrow the oligarchy, stop acting as though it only exists on the other side. In reality, both parties have their elites, but only one of them continues to act as though its billionaires are morally superior, Maher highlights. The obvious hypocrisy of criticizing billionaires while standing on a stage that they paid for.
But again, something like the free market is kind of synonymous with America. And if you don't like it, I don't know how you can say you love this country. You know who loves this country? You know who's not constantly complaining about what happened 200 years ago and who's not obsessed with seeing America through shit-colored glasses and shaking off the stench of what irredeemable, privileged assholes we are? Immigrants.
4. Why are individuals all around the world giving up everything to get here? And why are families in Africa, if America is really irredeemable, vulgar, nasty, and irreparably broken? The loudest critics of this country frequently forget how the rest of the world views it as a beacon rather than a dystopia. They are not chasing a fantasy. Rather, they are chasing opportunity, freedom, and hope. People from Asia and South America are scrounging to gather their life savings, sometimes living on less than $1 per day, just to have a chance at setting foot on American soil. Why are migrants risking their lives to cross borders, oceans, and deserts to get to America? It is so awful. As Maher points out, our flaws are real, but the ability to freely criticize them is only possible because of the liberties that America offers. The woke crowd is unwilling to accept this contradiction.
Any of them why they came here, and they will tell you the same thing. Ron DeSantis put me on a plane. But they will also tell you that America, for all that's so shitty about it right now, is still the last best hope. And those people asking for our votes to take it over should remember.
Therefore, the Democrats need a severe reality check if they are serious about taking back control in 2028, despite its imperfections. America is not the dystopian nightmare that is frequently depicted due to its unrelenting pessimism. They lost in 2020 as a result of the gloomy language and constant assaults on the nation's history and ideals. Voters dearly saw through the self-loathing narrative, the performative outrage, and the endless lectures. They wanted pride, not pity, and they voted for Trump. If Democrats want a chance in 2028, they must begin to show true love for this country, not just in well-crafted speeches, but in consistent visible action. Patriotism isn't out of style. Americans want leaders who build up the country, not destroy it. The sooner they realize that loving your country isn't a betrayal of progress, but a foundation for it, the sooner they can start to regain the trust they lost.
I think you can believe that you could have shorter elections in America, but it's not like we don't know. In Britain, for instance, when you have a short election, it's not like you don't know who the leader of the party is for months and years before that.
You're either the person who's Googling the day before, did Biden drop out, or you know in a week. You know, did anyone in this audience not know enough about Kamala Harris pretty much after a week to make a decision? Yeah, you just people.
How are you
it's ridiculous.
gonna enforce that?
We just get sicker of.
Here, Maher takes aim directly at an MSNBC commentator who asserted that Kamala Harris just needed more time for voters to get to know her before the election in November of last year. Maher wasn't buying it for a second and retorted that voters did get to know Kamala, and that was the exact issue, not a lack of exposure, but a lack of appeal, Maher said. In addition to being unpersuasive, Harris's rhetoric was out of step. Based more on ideology than on reality, and her policies, he claimed, defied common sense and had no basis in actual experience. When Harris spoke, it frequently sounded more like a script written in a progressive think tank than a message intended for the average voter. Maher's decision was harsh. The more people saw Kamala, the less they trusted her to lead. It was time for a whole political overhaul. Not something she needed.
You consider yourself a liberal, right?
I consider myself an old school liberal. You have to make that distinction now because, you know, the word woke, which started out as a good thing, being alert to injustice, and a lot of people get triggered by the word because when they hear it, they think of it the old meaning, which was good.
Right.
You know, stay woke. But I'm sorry, language is a living, breathing entity. Words change and they migrate and they take on a different meaning. And woke now has to answer for, or for people have just used the word to ascribe a number of extreme things.
Today's woke left is not only unattractive, but downright poisonous. What may have once been a movement based on justice and inclusivity has turned into a self-righteous, gloomy abyss that is destroying the left as a whole. It is no longer about progress, but rather about policing ideas, suppressing dissent, and punishing anyone who deviates even a little from the norm. As a result, many prominent voices are being silenced. Lifelong liberals, comedians, and thinkers have started to become conservative, but not because they no longer identify with the left, which they once proudly supported. The movement that promoted tolerance now conducts witch hunts, and the one that supported free speech now suppresses it. Maher is a living example of this diaspora. At the intersection, raising the alarm, the woke left has not only lost its attractiveness, but also its identity, and people are running away before it burns itself to the ground. That concludes today's film. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video. If you liked it, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more engaging videos like this one.